we got over here this morning so we could get a good week of work, focus in on what we have to do to improve, focus in on what we have to do to get ourselves ready to win a game on Sunday. And so we've got a lot of areas that we've got to improve on, offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game. And we got to work hard to get those things corrected and fixed before we get to Sunday.
Did everyone make the trip, Coach? I know a couple players left early. Did everyone make the trip to London?
Yeah, I think everybody other than guys that were on IR.
Oh, okay.
Coach, do you have any updates on some of your receivers?
No, I don't. Look, we were delayed about 3 hours getting out of Charlotte, so we're still gathering some information there on really all our injuries.
I know last night after the game you talked about, the first thing you said was it's about the ball. And so I take turnovers both sides of the football. How do you address that this week, knowing how important it is for you?
Yeah, look, I think it's got to be, again, a point of emphasis. I think we've got to focus on it in practice. I think we've got to continue to show our guys how those are the things that keep you from winning in our league. And really that was a lot of the discussion that we had today was, we've done a lot of good things, but we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot and put ourselves behind the eight ball a little bit. And so we've got to eliminate those mistakes that, are keeping us from winning.
In a week like this, I guess somewhat secluded, did it help you guys come together a little bit?
Well, I think when we come here, it's all about ball. I think we all love our friends, we love our families, we enjoy being around them. But I think when you get in this environment, it's kind of easier just to focus on the football. And I think that can be beneficial for us this week.
Coach, I just wanted to ask, what did you learn from your 2017 trip when you faced off against the Dolphins? Have you adapted any of what you learned as a defensive coordinator to this trip?
Well, look, I think the number one thing was the importance of getting some sleep on the way over here, because the time difference, I think, is the biggest challenge in getting adjusted to that. So, I got some rest on the plane, got here and ready to go to work now.
And what do you get from spending a whole week here? Because often we see teams who come to London, they might come on the Wednesday or Thursday. The Vikings are coming later in the week. So what do you feel the team and yourself get spending a whole full week? Well,
I think, number one, getting accustomed to the time. I think that's the number one benefit. Like I said earlier, I think, being in this environment with just your team, there's not a lot of distractions here. So we get to bond together as a team and we get to really focus on football.
After you watch the tape, what was your evaluation? It's always probably different when you watch the tape of your quarterback.
Look, I thought he made some really good throws in the game. When you really look at it, you go back and you say, okay, well, we're taking the first drive of the game down the field. We complete a 17-yard pass down to the 19-yard line. We get an illegal chop block that gets called and puts us in a, what would have been 1st and 10 from the 19 goes to, I think it was 3rd and 19 from the -49. And so, and then we take the opening drive of the third quarter down the field and move it right down the field. And we just didn't quite execute as well as we needed to there in the red area. We had a couple other drives where we moved the ball effectively down the field. So there was a lot of positives that were in there, but the penalties and the turnovers are things that we have to eliminate.
What about did you see on tape with the big touchdown they had, but they kind of broke a few tackles, they cut it up, and it was Chenault, I think it was the big run. What did you see on tape? What kind of broke down?
Well, we just missed a couple tackles.
Yeah.
Look, I go back and you always, as the play caller, you look at it and you're like, maybe I should have done this or done that. And but it was one of those games where, I felt like we played, pretty solid on defense. I still think there's some things that we can improve on. But it got to be one of those games where, it was going to be too much to overcome when you have something like that happen.
Coach, you mentioned you don't have an update on some of your wide receivers. The Vikings are currently 4th or 5th worst passing defense at the moment. Could this be a chance to get more guys involved, such as maybe Callaway, who had the contested touchdown with the one-handed grab, or even putting the hands in the ball of Kamara, who we know?
Yeah, look, I think we're pretty. I think those are questions that probably could get discussed a little later in the week. We're just putting this past game to bed, and it's probably really about right now where our attention turns to the Vikings.
Coach, what kind of, you mentioned team bonding, what kind of, are you doing extra things as a team together?
Just hanging out in the hotel, working on football.
Just finally from you, Coach, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, first time I imagine you would have been there, looking forward to playing in a venue that's maybe a bit more purpose-built for an NFL game?
Yeah, I mean, I really, honestly, hadn't thought about it. I'm just focused on, making the corrections we need to make, and then we'll move on to Minnesota, start getting ready to play those guys.